look at this model at all, I will paint it to the point where it just goes away. I mean, it might be well painted in different colors and stuff, but instead of being green like this, it might be like a shade of blue or something, and the face is going to be bright green. So when you look at it, you can't help but keep looking at the face. You're just like, you're mesmerized by it. So that's one of the things that you want to be conscious of when you're painting is, where's my focal point going to be? That's the one thing I really like about the airbrush, because I can make a focal point very quickly on an area, and then if it's not the focal point I want, I just re-airbrush over it real quick and change it and move it up or down or sideways or whatever. So that helps me get my general vision for the model, how the model's going to look style-wise, like with this one, and then I go from there. All the colors are painted on over that. On a gaming miniature like what this will probably be, I'm not going to cover every inch of the airbrushing. I'm going to leave some of the airbrushing showing. On this one, the airbrush job was actually, patting myself on the back, pretty good as far as not seeing any dots or speckling or anything, but you'll get that with airbrushing. And on a display miniature like this one, I started off airbrushing it blue with pockets of white and stuff around it, but it has completely been covered with paint. Whether it be a really thin wash of paint or whatever, that initial airbrushing is gone, but still there at the same time. So, and I also changed some things to be more dramatic. Places where like maybe a highlight was in full area on the hip, I make it dark at the top of that highlight and then brighter down below, and so it makes the hips come out more. Things like that you can start stylizing, but on some miniatures you can get away with not everything being covered by paint with actual paintbrush. Now, another thing on this, and it's almost a bad word in a lot of miniature areas, is you could actually, since this skin is so bumpy, you could actually get away with some light dry brushing and kind of pick some of those colors out. Because what you'll find, what I found in the past, is some of these little bitty bumps, if you went and highlighted all of them with your paintbrush, the highlights are going to be too large, and then it starts looking wrong. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I spent 45 hours highlighting every bump on the back of this guy, and it looks horrible. Or it just doesn't want, A, look right, and B, it just doesn't look good. And then you're bummed out because you go to the contest and you're like, oh, I spent 200 hours highlighting bumps and nobody cared. And it's because nobody cared. It didn't look good, And sometimes as painters, I fall in love with paint jobs all the time. And you just, like, all of a sudden, you just miss all the problems with it and, all this stuff because you just, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And look at the mud on that guy's boots and, all this stuff. And you kind of lose focus on the final product and how well it's painted. When it comes down to it, that's what the judges are looking for. They're looking for, the best painted models and stuff like that. So you just really got to be careful. I know a guy who's probably the best dry brusher I've ever seen in my life, and he's winning actually a lot of the miniature painting contests down in San Diego. One, because I stopped entering them, and then two, because he's really good. And so, but this guy dry brush is so good. I look at it and go, oh, it's just dry brush. It's no big deal. I'm like, yeah, but you dry brush better than anybody I've ever seen. He'll pick out little bitty details, and there's no that dry brushing haze around the detail. It's just the detail, and it's just amazing. So there is a place for everything. In the fantasy painters world, Jennifer Haley is probably one of the best painters in America, if not the world, and she dry brushes too. So it's you never want to like throw away any one particular technique, even though it may be looked at as, oh, that's way too easy or whatever. I started coming to historical conventions and stuff because I wanted to learn some of, I kept hearing all these stories of like, oh, historical painters know how to do that in like 10th the time. And it's like, oh, I got to figure that out, because it's like, 100-hour miniature used to be cool, and now it's just 100 hours, and if I were to spend 100 hours, I want them to spend doing the right things. I've spent many times painting a miniature 40, 50, 60 hours, and it was in all the wrong spots. So that's 40, 50, 60 hours, maybe, like, I guess I could call practice. But it was in the wrong details, highlighting the wrong things, painting the wrong way, putting more emphasis in techniques that